Welcome to another episode of Sound the Sirens. I'm your host, Thomas Orness, and today we are discussing of the Oklahoma game.
On the campus of Iowa State University in Ames, Iowa, a chilly early October night.
Was the first go around. It was a Saturday night. What was the date? I can't remember the date.
First week in October.
First week in October. We broke out the black uniforms for the first time. We just came off of beating TCU. What do you think? What do you like? I don't really remember like our mindset going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what we talked about in the TCU game. It was like start off 0-1. TCU game was kind of a toss-up. We thankfully won, but like I remember during the TCU game thinking if we lose this, like we have Oklahoma next, we could go 0-3.
Yeah.
So after the TCU game, I was like, okay, like now, like we're doing okay. Oklahoma lost, so like they're already a game back behind us in the Big 12. So I don't know. I just thought I knew we were having fans in some capacity. I knew it was a night game, and I knew it was going to be October, so I knew we'd probably have a decent shot. And with Oklahoma losing to K-State, I don't think anyone really knew how good they were yet, especially with Spencer Rattler being a young quarterback who had
That was his first game.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't really remember. I mean, I guess I kind of revert to my old expectations of when Iowa State plays Oklahoma. I was like,
I mean,
I just hope we're in it. And
like last year, we almost came back and won against them, against Jalen Hurts. So
yeah. So, I mean, and the year before that, we beat them. So, like, I think
we came in pretty confident. I came in pretty confident that we could win. It was like the first time we hadn't beat them in like, 30 years at Jack Trice.
Yeah.
And we just needed to get that off our back. And it was it was like an up and down game. We really didn't, looking back on it, we really didn't play that well on offense.
No, I mean, the first half, we moved the ball. Like, I feel like each possession we moved the ball a little bit, but it was just like mistake here, mistake there would lead to us not scoring or just lead to a field goal. But yeah, I guess I think it was probably the most confident Iowa State fans have probably been going into an Oklahoma game ever.
Yeah, and it was like we didn't have fans Louisiana game. We finally get like 15,000 fans in this game, which really helped, I think.
Yeah, no, it did. I mean, obviously not what I don't know. It's not what it should have been, but obviously with the circumstances, it was better than especially what the Louisiana game was, where it was just a
dud,
a morgue.
Yeah, it was really bad.
But yeah, no, and obviously under the lights playing the black uniforms is always pretty sick. So
yeah, I even know if the old timers don't really like it, but and then they put the black lettering on.
Oh yeah, it looks so good.
And it was like ABC. It looked so fresh, and
It's probably the first thing we should address though is you and I had tickets to the game.
Yeah,
and
we decided not to
go.
Yeah,
which I don't know. Watching the game last night again this morning,
we should have gone, but we had a good crew watching it in Humboldt. Shout out Derek Clark and
shout out Craig.
Shout out Craig. Shout out Tinsley.
Kate.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because I remember we talked about do we really want to go to the Oklahoma game when there's only 15,000 fans?
Because it was like one of the games where I could sell for a little more than what I bought it for to get some money back from the Louisiana game, because I didn't know they were going to refund us the tickets, so I wanted to kind of get my money back. And I was still kind of like, I really don't want to spend like full price for like a 16th of the atmosphere.
Right, and especially like it's playing Oklahoma, like there's the possibility of getting blown out is always possible. So like,
but our defense played really well.
Yeah, I think watching it again, I think the guy that no one talked about after this game was kind of
showed out. He was
Lawrence White.
Lawrence White played really well.
He some absolutely huge plays that like stopped drives that they could have ended up scoring. Like he played so well. The D line played really well. Yeah, it
was like we weren't really clicking. Oklahoma was like they were not what they were at the end of the year. Obviously, they had some drop balls.
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler was kind of just running for his life.
But even running for his life, we never really got to him.
Yeah, but he has a pretty quick release, and he just chucks it as far as he can.
Yeah.
And luckily enough, there's some drop balls for Oklahoma that could have been really key.
Yeah, there's one in particular that we'll get to, but so I don't know. Like the game started, like it always starts against Oklahoma. Big play, they get to the red zone, but I totally forgot that it was 2nd and goal on the 1, and they didn't score. They got a field goal.
They give to the fullback right up the middle, and like, especially in the past, that's just a touchdown.
Yeah,
our defense buckered up and stopped them, which was a huge play.
The D line on 3rd down or on 2nd down stuffed them. They lost a yard, and then the next play, the people that make the goal line stand was Anthony Johnson, Lawrence White.
Yeah,
two secondary players making a tackle at the 1 is
to the key players the whole game.
Yeah,
and and this was like the first time. I mean, Sheemyoung played pretty well against CCU, but he showed out. He came in, really nailed some dudes. He was talking a lot of Oklahoma.
He was talking a lot.
Oklahoma always talks smack, and he was not afraid to talk smack. And Breece Hall, looking back on
Breece Hall likes to chirp a little bit.
Yeah, and we watched both the ESPN version and then the Cyclones Express, and the Cyclone Express has different angles, and it was one where it was skates, one offsides or a false start, but it was a simultaneously Oklahoma pushed our center,
right,
and they called on skates, and then Campbell freaked out, and then the next play Breece breaks out to the 3-yard line, and then just looks at the Oklahoma bench
at the bench and
just starts chirping at him. It was chirping at Lincoln Riley, and
which is funny because I feel like Breece has the reputation of just kind of be a quiet, mild-mannered guy, but if you just watch, he's not super demonstrative how he talks smack, but
he can talk smack.
Yeah,
when he's feeling himself, he can just when he does a cool move or not. He did that against the Baylor game. We'll talk about that in the Baylor game.
Yeah,
he did that too.
But there was another funny thing I thought, the Matt Campbell GIF that goes around on Twitter all the time.
That was after the Breece run.
Yeah,
because Campbell's freaking out, and then he calmed down. Then Breece did that, and then that was the smile.
Well, it was a run to the left, and Breece does his one jab cut where he just plants his feet or plants one foot and then just runs by
3 Oklahoma defenders.
Yeah,
and then that was the infamous Campbell smile, and then look back and back to locked in, which is
so cool.
It's I didn't really I forgot what that sequence was of the GIF. And we see that all the time. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny to get that context.
But
but aside from the first quarter, I mean that big stand, our offense moved the ball a little bit. Brock still, I don't know, the timing wasn't there with a lot of things. Charlie was back and was playing well, and I think Charlie and Brock didn't need an offseason to kind of get their timing, so I think Brock kind of really relied heavily on his default was if things weren't there, he was just going to look for Charlie. But he's just was still a little off. I mean, there was another play where Xavier Hutchinson ran a quick out, was wide open, had a ton of room, and Brock just missed a little bit, so he
had to stop.
Xavier caught it, but he fell.
Yeah.
It was just, and that was kind of the theme of the entire game. Our offense didn't light it up. I mean, we ended up 37, but
we definitely didn't play to our potential.
No, we could have hung 50 if we would have.
Yeah, Campbell's first thing, he's you after the game, they're you're emotional. Honestly, I'm just kind of mad that we didn't really play as well as we probably could have.
Yeah,
which is pretty baller because
after
we just beat Oklahoma for the first time at home for 30 years, and there was a lot of sequence of both teams really didn't. It was kind of sloppy both ways.
Yeah, a ton of penalties.
So many. It was just. I thought
it took the game lasted forever. If you look on YouTube and it has the ESPN broadcast, the YouTube is 4.5 hours long.
Yeah,
and it was just a review penalty. There was a sequence. There was 4 reviews and 8 plays. It just kind of was a long, weird game. And
the first half was not very rewatchable.
No, yeah. Aside from my favorite Oklahoma player, their strong safety number 44, Radley Hiles, had an absolutely horrendous game.
Yeah, he had the assignment of guarding Charlie Kohler, which I don't know why.
He had, I think, 3 or 4 pass interference and then a roughing the passer.
Yeah, he did. I think he only had he had a couple of good plays, but man, he's transferred to Washington now, which I'll kind of miss him.
I know I'm gonna miss him. The last 2 years, Charlie Kohler's kind of owned him.
Yeah, which Man. And the first half was really kind of tough to watch. But we came like
it was close. I mean, the first half is just like you just have to keep it close enough where it's not out of hand, and then you can make plays on the stretch to win. But yeah, a lot of field goals. But I think them missing the field goal at the end of the end of the first half was huge.
Yeah, he had the leg for it.
He did. Right. Yeah, that was really, really big. Yeah, I mean, we were hanging in there, but like we didn't get the lead until end of the third, start of the fourth quarter. Like, so it was like, I just remember thinking back to how I was feeling. Like I never really was like, we're gonna win until like the fourth quarter. Like, yeah, I was like, we're hanging around, like but I just remember like we're not playing that well. Like we just,
yeah. But the thing about John Haycock, who's by far the best defensive coordinator we've ever had at Iowa State. Every time we play Oklahoma at halftime, he figures them out.
Yeah.
Because the very beginning, Oklahoma's scripted plays are
so good.
The best in the country by a mile. Maybe Alabama, but yeah. And then
like their first 2 or 3 possessions, it's just like they know what they're running, and then they just can move the ball at will. But after that, like our defensive staff figures it out.
And there's one play in particular, Jaquan Bailey just reads the screen perfectly and just wraps him up.
Yeah, Jaquan is lined up in the left end. He like takes one step and then that kind of drops back, and then he read it perfectly. He hit the screen as soon as he caught it, and it was a 2-yard loss. Like that was a play that I was probably watching it live. I didn't really think much of. It was just like so impressive to see a guy that big being able to read a play and like make a stop, make that quickly. It was so cool.
Yeah, this was like the first game. This was the first game where we had all the equipment to do the podcast stuff, and we did like the halftime report with Derek Clark and me and you.
I had some friends call in,
and we were still trying to figure out the ropes. And that was fun.
It was just like a lot of nervous energy. We're hanging in there, like we're not playing that well, but we're only down
because like we're still like we're not exactly sure if we're really up to par with Oklahoma, but like I think this game showed like. We were legitimately better that night.
Yeah, no, and like the talent gap wasn't. I mean, they probably have top to bottom more talent than us, as they should. But I mean, our skill players and our key players are as talented as them, and I think you could argue that maybe a little bit our coach than them too. So
yeah, like what I would say also is this was before Remsburg even played.
Yeah,
offensive line.
Yeah, again, like
I mean, that's like the only thing that was still kind of. You could see is the offensive line. It was at times could run block.
Right. This is Daryl Simmons' only second game. Yeah. Like there's a couple plays where he drove his guy 10 yards off the ball. So
which Daryl Simmons' first games are against TCU and Oklahoma. Like
two pretty good, some big boys in the D line and
which to be fair, like Daryl Simmons is probably blocking some pretty darn good ones in practice too.
Right. True.
Which like I think our D line's the best in the Big 12, arguably.
Yeah, I mean, when Oklahoma's full strength, their D-line is pretty good too. Yeah. But yeah,
and they didn't have Perkins, which they did in the Big 12 championship game. Which he was one of the best in the nation. But
yeah, no, I think you're right. I think again, it's like watching it last year. Like I feel like no one was super nitpicky about anything we did, just because we were so thankful that we were playing, just because like the uncertainty leading up to the season. Like now watching back, like it's super evident that like fall camp really had a huge toll where we weren't looking sharp until probably halfway through the season. Yeah. I think the offensive line, what you said, was a really good point. Like they still weren't the cohesive unit that had it figured out yet. And
like this team, like, man, Purdy really was like struggling, kind of like throwing down the field. And like there was a sequence where like we threw it 2 bombs where it just looked like he was playing 500 out there. And then just a couple plays later was the long Xavier touchdown.
Oh yeah, it was like we were about to go 3 and out. Like we were second and third down were horrible plays. Third down, Brock Purdy's running for his life and ends up like tossing it up. But then there was a hold on the other side of the field.
So there was like there was a hold on a play that
automatic first down
that wasn't in like even thrown. Like he kind of tossed it a little bit, but like it wasn't.
It wasn't towards that guy though.
No.
Which was the next play was Xavier Hutchinson's 6-yard touchdown.
Will they reestablish Breece Hall? They faked it to him. Here's a big hitter. who turned down Oklahoma and came to Iowa State, gives the Cyclones the lead on a 65-yard play.
Jaden Davis, the fake holds everybody. There's nobody in the middle of the field. Hutchison beats Jaden Davis, and the rest is history.
Which was that sequence is probably one of the most important, obviously most important game of the game, other than like obviously we'll get to the.
But because this came after Brock Purdy's fumble.
Yeah. No. I think that was before. I think that was before. Before that, and then
Xavier Hutchinson's touchdown was before the fumble.
And then we fumbled, and then they went and scored, and they got back up, and then Kene long run.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the play of the game.
Oh, I know. Especially like I remember like watching it again. I went right back to how I felt live. I was like, I think that's probably it. Like we fumble, they score. Like
that's like he's done that so many times. He's gonna do that so many. Like look, recapping the season, he's done that so many times this year. Like this is the first one.
The next, I mean, having like fumble Oklahoma touchdown in 3 plays to Kenny having like a 90-yard return.
I can imagine like the sidelines kind of like, man, are we really not gonna? Because we were playing up to a par before that, and like we're just looking to.
We needed a big play.
And like I'm guessing the crowd was probably defeated, and then Kenny just comes out and just jolts Energy to Jack Trice, and then like 2 or 3 plays later, Brees gets in the end zone.
Or Brock.
Oh, Brock gets in the end zone. My bad.
Yeah. So it goes from like 2 minutes of gameplay where like we think we're gonna lose to like now it's tied again. Like now we have all the momentum.
I remember like we're really dramatic when we're watching the games. Like now we're gonna lose by 21. Like dad. You can hear Dad's like, we're gonna lose by 21 now. Like, come on, we're not. This isn't a cyclone of old.
Yeah,
our players really know how to keep. Because like, look in the year before, like we were down like what 20 to 28 points, and we came back and almost won.
Yeah,
so like
should have won.
We should have been like we can come back.
Yeah. So then after Brock Purdy's touchdown, that Oklahoma goes 3 and out.
Yeah,
we get a sack.
Will McDonald gets a sack on 3rd down, and they had the punt. And which was a pretty crappy punt too.
Yeah, and then that final drive was when Brees just like, okay, I'm the best player in the field, and
he was getting cocky.
Gets knocked out. Not that one play where he gets knocked off balance and then just puts his right foot in the ground and just freezes the safety and like, runs right by him.
Oklahoma's defense was on the field. They're probably getting tired.
Yeah,
and Brees with the bum ankle does his infamous cut.
Yeah,
just runs.
Yeah,
keeps running. Because like why he's so good is he knows how to like manage his speed. Like he'll do a cut and then like slowly just speed up. Because like he doesn't like
he's never out of control.
He's obviously fast, but like he's big, so like you don't think he's that fast. And like man, he just bursts out.
Yeah, he's so good at like reading defenders and like he knows how to make them move the way he wants so he can get by him. And he's just so smooth. And I think that was kind of the first thing we as fans like thought about him as a freshman, like this guy is smooth. There's something about him, and then because still up to this point, like the TCU game, he had a really good game, but like we still know like Brees was the best running back in the country
in the Big 12, and later in the year the best in the country.
Yeah. I know. It's really fun to rewatch to kind of see his growth and
this was the first game where he got like first snaps, like the whole first quarter and the whole.
Like it was his
whole game,
his job, and
which it was a.
But even when he scored, there was like 4 minutes left. When we said like we scored too fast, like they're good. Again, like we're just like we're still gonna lose in regulation.
We just freak out.
But then then obviously that final drive, like Oklahoma's a big 4th down conversion, and then the Sheem Young play, and the potential missed call, hold on
maybe a little tug on the jersey with their eyes.
Watching live, I didn't think it was that bad.
Flip.
Watching it again,
flip the teams that never gets called for us. So it's kind of
I know, but like
karma, we deserve.
But if you watch it, so the side angle, it looks like the ball is way overthrown.
Yeah.
But from the angle of like from the opposite end zone, it is not that much overthrown.
But Sheem Young made such a good play. Like, reading his eyes, and man, it was a perfect play.
Well, the announcers called it great because like they're like, maybe it was a missed call, but like it was Spencer Rattler's fault. He never saw Sheem Young.
Yeah.
So like I think Spencer Rattler was thinking, I'm just going to throw to the end zone, see if my guy can make a play. He had no idea.
Which they didn't need to do that. They had
it was first down.
They just got a first down. They have 2 timeouts. They're on the 35-yard line, which was a fresh mistake, but he's still one of the most talented players we've ever played against.
Yeah, he's got
as a freshman for sure.
Yeah, for sure, he's
a cannon,
absolute cannon. Like
has the weapons around him. He's gonna be dangerous for sure.
Yeah, but honestly, the weapons. I think this was the least powerful like weapons the Oklahoma had.
Running backs probably, but that tight end is really good.
Stogner's good, but the receivers like
Mims
compared
is really
to
good. Compared to
the year before we played, we're trying to guard CeeDee Lamb and Stogner. So
the year before that was
Marquise Brown
and Andrews.
Yeah. So like obviously it's just the product of Oklahoma always has really talented players. Yeah. But I mean now that Iowa State also does too. So
I think our defense matches up good with their offense, and it just basically comes down to who makes more mistakes between Rattler and Purdy.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what I think what Haycock's his scheme is so good is like especially with Oklahoma is like I feel a very impatient team. They like big plays. They like to score a lot of points. They like to score fast.
Yeah.
And like our defense is makes it really hard to do that. So like that one play, like first and down, like Rattler probably just wanted to tie it up then. So instead of just checking it down. So it's just it really plays into our hands well with just the way our defense is schemed. And like you said, like Haycock, his ability to adjust the second half, like this game, I mean, Oklahoma still put up 30, but like they only scored 13 in the second half. Second half of the Big 12 title game, they scored 0.
Yeah, which we'll probably break down with that one too. But yeah,
But it's just I honestly my biggest takeaway of this game was up to this point during the Brock Purdy era, Brock had to play exceptional to near perfect if we were going to win.
Yeah.
Especially if we were going to win a big game against a really good team. Like the year before, he had 5 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. Yeah. Like he played out of his mind, and we still lost by 1. But we could have won because Brock played so well.
Yeah.
This game, Brock was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Not even close.
No.
But we have enough talent around to pick him up on defense and on offense that he doesn't have to. And I think up to this point, I don't think Brock really knew that or could really like rely on that. I think Brock always thought it would have to be on him. And then obviously in the later of the year, you could tell Brock relaxed, relied on his teammates and just the talent around him. And I think coming into next year, like obviously he knows that. So I think Brock's gonna.
And like we really leaned on Breece Hall. We didn't. This was like he played really good against Texas the year before, but like it was still like Brock had to show out.
Right.
And Petway was really good, Deshaunte Jones, and it was really relying on his shoulders. And now Purdy can trust his key player. Like Xavier came out, played really well. Kohler, obviously, he's Kohler, and Breece. And we got to shout this out. The tight end to tight end pass has to be the first one that I've seen.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Yeah, and I didn't know that. We watched the Cyclone Express one, and Dylan Sander was a pitcher or something.
I bet he threw gas in high school. He's a big dude.
Yeah, and of course they reviewed it for like the 7th time.
Yeah,
and which was a special play.
Yeah, it was so cool. Yeah, our tight end group is so fun.
That was the play. That was the play right after Milton's long run or long catch for.
The only 2 plays he played was he fair caught a punt return and then
got hurt on that play, which was stunk.
Yeah, but yeah, again going back to Brock, when he makes mistakes is when he's pressing and like I think he feels the pressure of like he needs to make a big play, but especially the last half of the year, that pressure went away and like he just really didn't make that many mistakes. And
other than a couple games, but and like he can trust his offensive line more than he did.
Right, so he's like I feel like his clock in his head prior to last year was a lot quicker than it was at the end of the year, where he knew he could have time to kind of go through his progressions. But I mean, you watch his freshman and sophomore year, like a lot of times, like it was like a couple steps, one look, and then he'd be running. So,
which he has to kind of relearn how to do that. Which I think the end of last year really helped him, and which is going to be exciting for what next year will be when we have the full strength of our offensive line, which we have so much depth now since like Downing didn't play.
I know.
Ramos went out too, so Remsburg got snaps, he was
all
Big 12 too.
Yeah,
as a freshman,
and didn't start until the fourth game.
Yeah,
or he didn't play until the fourth game.
Yeah, so like the next one we're gonna break down the next game,
Texas Tech. Yeah, but yeah, so I think I don't know. It's just obviously every time we watch this, get a little more excited.
For sure, like just watching the Oklahoma talent, and we are just like we're ponying up against one of the most talented offenses, and we're going play for play with them. And our secondary is not getting blown by every play, and we have Ashim Young with probably the two best safeties, Ashim Young and we had Lawrence White too. But
yeah, again,
Lawrence White and
we just have a lot of guys that get a lot of love, and Lawrence White is just a guy that did not get enough love.
Which he played really good this game.
Yeah, really, really good. Yeah, so it'll be. I don't know. It's
just a really big bummer of like obviously COVID. Obviously, we're in the Big Ten where they weren't even playing at this point.
Right.
But like, what it would have been if like it was ABC, packed stadium, and like
a night game.
I feel like we would have. This might be just like a hot take, but like Rattler going on his first road game and like 15,000 fans compared to like 60,000 fans. Jack Trice is probably would have been no pun intended rattled.
Nice.
If we had 60,000 fans.
No, I know. I think especially like when the pressure got put on in the second half, I think it would have felt a lot different. And like, it's easy for him to relax when it's just kind of background noise, but when
it was like the play where that really shook him was when Aaron Horn came around and rocked him. That was the play where like he felt pressure and then he's kind of started pressing the rest of the game, which he kind of like overthrown people and
because after that, like he was not as sharp,
not the same.
Well, yeah, but the entire game we were like we would get past their line to get like we would get fingertips on him, but like he was quick enough to get away. And but after that one, he's just like, oh crap, like if they get to me, like it's not gonna feel good.
And yeah, our linebackers played like Eric Horn, like he looks like a dude too.
I know
he really doesn't get play, and the bull crap like Gary
Vaughn
got.
I totally forgot how bad that was.
Got booted out with targeting, which I wish we could change the rule.
It's just silly. It doesn't. Yeah,
we're just glad. Obviously, we're just glad that wasn't like Mike Rose or Ashim Young. Like
I know, but like
I
think obviously the when they implemented the rule, the hits that were happening were so egregious, like it had to happen.
Yeah.
Like now we have a generation of players that have grown up playing with that rule. The hits that are happening that are targeting aren't egregious hits. They're just like accidental, like.
Well, like there should be tiers. Like intent matters. Like Ashim Young is learned to like not lead with his head, duck his shoulder, and then
the guy just like he fell into his head.
Yeah, like
that's what I'm saying. Like players are not intending to lead with their head, like, but sometimes accidentally helmets hit, and it's always put on the defender, but sometimes it's the offensive player that is at fault. So a 15-yard penalty is a big enough penalty in itself. Like you don't have to boot a guy and then suspend him for the next game. That's like, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, they needed a strict penalty to like get people to buy in, but like I think we're to the point where players to buy in, they like obviously want the game to be as safe as possible. We need to change it. It's ridiculous.
Like the new rule of the blindside hit, I feel like that's more, if not just as dangerous as the targeting thing. Like,
oh yeah,
when you're not
maybe
looking,
more
when you're not looking, and then they just get boom. But that's only 15-yard penalty. I feel like that should just be the same as targeting, or like
switch it,
or get warnings.
Yeah,
like basketball, like flagrant 1, flagrant 2.
Yeah, it's so silly to me that it's just a hard and fast rule. If it meets criteria, even if it's not even a hard hit, you're still gone. It just. Obviously, Iowa State fans have seen it have a huge impact on the game.
Or even like a half. Like Ashim Young did that in the first half in the Big 12 championship game. That's suspending him for a whole game. It's not like that was like the third play of the game. Yeah. And like obviously we've had that a couple times, like at N.A. Rodriguez
and the Alamo Bowl. Well, that was like 2 plays after Willie Harvey got booted.
Yeah. And
Willie Harvey was a senior. That was his last game.
Yeah. Which that game, man, that sucked. And if my argument with that play was if his helmet doesn't fly off, they don't like review it at all.
Because there was no flag thrown.
No. Then it was called down from the booth. And
So, yeah, we could
talk about that. We'll talk about it probably
long time.
Yeah.
Another thought I had, which I just from this game, watching the coaches run off, I saw Coach Andrews, and it struck me. He obviously was on staff last year, but he was doing online strength training. Like, this is our first year that Coach Andrews gets to actually show what he does best, and like, I cannot wait to see
the difference, especially in our offensive line. Our defense line's already good, but like you just level up a little more,
right? But even like our player, like Brees, I can't wait to see what like a full offseason with him can do. Like,
because he was a true freshman, his freshman year with not
a different strength
coach, and then last year sophomore didn't have the strength training of Coach Andrews, who was the man who molded Aaron Donald.
I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but
it's pretty darn good, and which I'm excited to see what he can do with Will McDonald.
Yeah,
which he's skinny, but can't really complain. He led the nation's sacks last year,
which still doesn't get talked about. Like, no one in the media ever talks about Will McDonald,
because like that was like when that happened, like, oh yeah, and Will McDonald led the nation's sack. Like, that was not even like that big of a deal. Like, it was a big deal, but like it wasn't like mentioned or like talked about a lot in our fan base.
I know, especially coming from a fan base that's used to like maybe getting a sack a game or having multiple games without a sack.
Like, take Will McDonald, like that's the amount of sacks we had on the whole team, like back in the day.
Yeah, it's crazy, and he's yet to start.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what he can do against Iowa.
Iowa's never played him.
Iowa's never played Iowa. Iowa hasn't played Brees or Will McDonald. Yeah, we can. Yeah, that gets me pumped.
It's gonna be. It's crazy. July is a week and a half away, and then it'll be August.
And like, we were watching the ABC version last night, and I was like, man, we shouldn't be watching this because I'm gonna get too jacked. I can't even go to sleep tonight because that broadcast was pretty. Like, that was like the first huge broadcast of the season, and it happens to Jack Trice. The images and the pictures was so nice.
Yeah.
And Tom McShay was there, and I think Tom McShay said, I think the Big 12 championship game, that Brees Hall will be the number one running back for the NFL draft the following year.
Which I would say, duh. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, and especially, but then you go all these off-season rankings and everything. Like, I think people are not giving Brees the respect he deserves.
It's just Pro Football Focus. They did that the first time. It's just one guy too. Like, it's just an account that has really good images and a lot of following. Like, which at the Pro Football Focus, like, maybe they should just focus on pro football because they obviously don't know college football.
But I don't know. But Pro Football Focus was in love with David Montgomery.
Yeah. And
like, David Montgomery was always the top of their board every week.
And he wasn't sixth in the Heisman like Brees Hall was.
Brees led the country in rushing yards. It was like one touchdown away from leading the country in touchdowns.
Yeah. Which, he's
a true sophomore.
Yeah, true sophomore with
behind an offensive line for half the year that had not really been put together yet.
Yeah. Which, like, they didn't, in the offensive line that didn't have an offseason to like gel
or work out.
They're just gelling on the fly, and then we had some injuries too. Yeah. And they still came together and was probably one of the best, if not the best, offensive line in the Big 12 at that. I mean, like, kind of. Like,
we're now in the, I would say, in the top third, but
yeah,
I don't know. Oklahoma's offensive line is just, they're still just 20 pounds bigger at every position.
Yeah, but if you put like okay, I see pictures of Brees on Iowa when he went to Iowa. Like, imagine like with those big boys what he could have done. But I think obviously
we're getting there. And I mean, the last week we've gotten two really big offensive lineman recruits. One kid is.
One was a shock from Minnesota, who picked us over Iowa and Nebraska, who I've heard could be one of the best. He has like most talented player to come into Iowa State, like
offensive line,
going into like this senior year of like this one kid. I can't remember his name, but he's like 305, 6'7" out of Ohio.
As a 17-year-old kid.
As a 17-year-old, like, man, I'd hate to be a D end in high school trying to weave through that guy.
Yeah, I think one of our IDNs weighed like 180.
Yeah, and Humboldt. Yeah. Yeah. Brian, I'm not sure if Brian could. Yeah, Brian could weave through him back in the day.
Oh no!
Brian was.
Shout out Brian Larson. He'll come on the pod hopefully soon. Former walk-on, You're on a scholarship, but I went to high school with him, and he walked on Iowa State weighing 215 pounds, playing offensive guard. So
yeah, and we were when we were little kids, we watched the Nebraska Sioux game where we had like 8 turnovers. That was a fun day.
Yeah, it was.
We could talk about that with him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is the 3rd edition of the reviewing the
third
series.
game of the year. Yeah, we're
obviously one of the best. This is probably the most upbeat and positive podcast we've had.
Well, yeah, because up to this point, like we just like Iowa State hadn't figured it out yet, but I mean, we have like one more blip in the road, and then it's just going to be the games at the end of the season are just
so fun to rewatch and relive because those are so fun.
And I mean, we've already rewatched them a ton, and this is obviously probably the most rewatchable game just because the magnitude and like just kind of finally getting over the hump where we can like compete with Oklahoma consistently and beat them. But then like just the way we put it together at the end of the year is
it was pretty darn fun at the time and still is.
Yep.
And we bring everyone back.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we're gonna do Text Tech soon.
Yep. Well, the next week.
And got some interviews coming up that are pretty big.
Yep.
Look out for those.
Probably would already happened.
Yeah. Hopefully you listen to that one. That was a fun one.
Yep.
Hasn't happened yet, but it was a fun one. Yeah. Well, yeah, we can talk. Like we were pre-recording these because we were in Iowa City. My brother just moved into his new house. That's how like this is the
Eastern Iowa office.
Eastern Iowa. The podcast out east, second Sound the Sirens podcast out east location, and yeah, we moved him all in. And shout out Melanie's dad.
Yep, Dave.
Really came through.
It's an understatement. Yeah, it's for all those people that have a father or a father-in-law that is handy and coming to a house full of people that are not handy. It's
just
makes a pretty big deal.
Just have to hand him tools and let him go. And he really shaped the place up really good.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll release the Text Tech one next weekend.
Yep.
And
just keep like there's plenty of places to find this. Again, I would strongly recommend going on Cyclones.tv and watching the Cyclones Express
version,
just because you get to watch it with John and Eric calling the game, and it makes such a difference.
Their emotions in the game is just hilarious.
Well, especially Eric is just like, that's a terrible call. Like
what kind of spot is that? It's like, and then John was like, another review.
Is just like their tones are like
annoyed.
What all the Iowa State fans are thinking. It's just like nice to like have that affirmed.
And like those are well thought out, and they're professionals, and
they're so good.
One of the best.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah. So thanks for listening, and go Clones.
Go Clones.